Good evening. You're listening live to the Extreme Movie Show, Kickin' It, our action platform where we cover all the good stuff, especially from the 80s, which is one of our personal favorite decades. I'm your host, Rob. I'm broadcasting live to you from the Pine Hills Palace, just west of Orlando, Florida. Chopper City, as a lot of people like to call it. I've got on the sat feed here in the underground bunker. I'm seeing him on my screen. He's shaking his head up and down. Yeah, he's ready to go. The real Dr. V. Good evening, sir. How are you?
Doing great.
Good. You know, Doctor, I want to point out to everybody that you're from the Midwest, and that's the one part of flyover country in this world that family values are considered still par for the course. But I just want to throw a little something at you that you may not have heard about, seeing as how you're a bit younger than I am. And it goes a little something like this. Since tonight we're covering 1983's canon instant classic, Revenge of the Ninja, the best ninja movie of all time with Kosugi and Kane, and another martial arts guy we'll talk about in a moment. My little thought goes like this, Doctor. The family that ninjas together stays together. What do you think of that?
I gotta say, it's basically like a knockoff movie. It would have been like if this is after what's his name, that Bruce Lee died. Bruce Lee and his son could have done this movie. It would have been a whole lot better.
You are smoking that serious Midwestern weed, sir. Absolutely zero chance in that at all.
Oh, I'm sorry.
As a matter of fact, I would argue that this film, even though Bruce Lee died, I think it was his dying really kind of catapulted the whole martial arts thing, and the fact that they were introducing it to the West in the early 70s. He has a legacy for that. But this movie represents the top of the line ninja craze of the entire 80s. Thank you, Sho Kosugi and the Canon Films, for the second and the best film in the trilogy, in my opinion, of it, too. You cannot top this film, sir. I don't care what ninja movie's out there. Name a better ninja movie. And you can add Bruce Lee to it. There's not one. I'm waiting.
All
Scott
right.
Atkins, we love you. You're flippity floppy. Your movies aren't better than this one. As you can see, I kind of like this.
Like I said, all I had to do is put our early Jackie Chan or Jet Li in this.
No,
it's the same movie.
No.
This movie was so freaking long. Like I said, it felt like it was going for 3 hours. I'm like, all right, can we just get to the point? It's like we got to add all this.
It's a masterpiece of set piece and ninja action sequences, sir. Everything else is the derivative of this film.
Basically, this movie was white Matt, California man bad. We're going to ship heroin through your dolls. And Japanese are great. And basically, they're honorable and they're naive. That's what I got for this movie.
You just don't get it. And it's my job to convince you otherwise. So, yeah, let's talk about the film, Doctor, as we're goofing with this. Yeah, so we talked about Revenge of the Ninja with Franco Nero last week, and we had a lot of positive responses on it. So we're like, hey, let's continue with the ninja films. And so a couple things about this film. Yes, by today's standards, it may be considered a little bit, dated. That being said, what I would argue to the contrary that has a lot of things in its favor is I think the action sequences are outstanding. And yes, everybody goes in ninja one at a time and everything. But again, unless you grew up on like Golden Harvest films or any Shaw Brothers or anything from stuff in the 60s and 70s, unless you really were a big fan of that, this was your prime time introduction to ninja stuff. And people were Chuck Norris fans at the time. This whole martial arts thing was not going to go away. And it was getting so popular that for Canon to sit there and say, hey, Sho, you're literally going to be the lead of the show in the series, and we're going to give it to you. I think that can't be understated enough. Super, super low budget film. They filmed there on the rooftop scene out in Utah. I think a lot of it for budgetary reasons. They shot this like in a month and a half, and it made good bank. Now, originally, as far as a mainstream movie, a lot of people would say, yeah, I don't know. But I'm telling you, people that liked anything at all in terms of action and martial arts before the 80s really exploded, like Invasion USA and what we've talked about before on Kickin' It, this was the movie. Everybody in school talked about this. Everybody talked about all the weapons. They talked about how they were used. They talk about this was just an ode to the masterpiece of what a ninja movie should be because of the way they dressed, the way they talked. And you're right. I will admit, fully bare bones plot, not much to it. But like the first Canon film, it gives you everything that you really are asking for. Great opening sequence, tons of weapons used, lots of interesting sequences and camera shots. You get to watch the action. Show moves magnificently on screen. And yeah, there's a little heroin angle for the dolls that get, whatever and stuff. Who cares? Honestly, it's just
we get the
yeah.
We also get Keith Vitale.
Yes. Let me tell you something about this movie. What elevates it? Shows does great. His son, Kane Kosugi, in here is phenomenal as a little kid. Yeah, sometimes we go, oh, little kids are annoying in films. I didn't think so. The kid looked legit. Obviously, he was taught very well. But you're absolutely right about Mr. Vitale. He was a karate expert, champion.
Horrible acting though by him, though. Sorry.
What's that?
Horrible acting by him. Either the dialogue was horrible or he just didn't know how to sell it.
Well, here's two things I'm going to throw at you because you made the commentary about the film being slow. And I would agree with you in a sense that 80s films in general like this are a lot more evenly paced. They're not as hectic. And I think a part of that has to do with what we talked about last week. Long camera shots, not a lot of the vomit-inducing quick cutting that you see in all fights these days. So you do have to watch it. And also, I'm going to talk about the soundtrack in a moment. I think it adds to it. But Mr. Vitale, one of the hypnotic things to it is the way he talks is very deliberate and like this. And so whenever he's on screen, whatever pacing immediately slows down. And I think it's, whether it's intentional or not, I think it's a stroke of genius because from the get-go, at the beginning opening scene when this ninja camp decimates this family, they even throw the shuriken in the kid's face. I mean, they gore everybody. It's a great sequence. It's like 30, 40 ninja. Well, he's walking with his buddy, and then they sense there's this thing going on. He pulls out his gun and he's shooting, and they obviously have a relationship. And he's like, "Look, come to the States. I'll finance this operation where we have the dolls come in. You're a master of that stuff. This ninja are always going to chase you. You can't escape. But do it for your mother, do it for your son." And it's very compelling. So we know, of course, the dude's a bad guy. And of course he is because he's behind it all. But what makes him awesome is, of course, the swerve that we find out that he really is the bad ninja. And of course, he's the one doing the killing. And frankly, I think it works. We talk about some of the bums in Chuck Norris fights or whatever that come on. They're good karate guys. And they might be physically tough and be the real deal in terms of skill. But Mr. Vitale, I think, pulls it off on screen. He's physically capable of doing it. He moves really well. And his voice, that rich, intentional baritone delivery, to me, it works, Doctor. What about you? What do you think?
Like I said, he comes off, the main guy, he comes off basically like a Jet Li or Donnie Yen. The way he's serious. But he said that opening, not the opening scene, but like after his basically, he hit the bad guys, the mafia guys, run by Joe Pesci lookalike. Sorry.
Yeah,
true.
Joe Pesci's dad. Okay, fine.
Literally, I'm immune. I got immunity. No, so basically the mafia guy he wants the dolls, but at first we don't know what's going on in them. He's like, why does he want the dolls? Like, there's some deal between him and Braden, the best friend. They know that basically told the main guy, hey, we get go to America, you can hide out here, we'll take care of you and set you up and everything. So anyway, he sends his goons over to the little Japanese hut or not hut, but store or art gallery.
Yep.
They start robbing it, and that whole scene where basically the main guy, Show, I think his name is, said.
Mm-hmm.
He basically catches them in the act, starts beating him up, and then we get to the scene where we get Chief, and Chief is pretty much like this. I couldn't tell if it was a white guy trying to be an Indian or it actually was a Native American, and just like, but they played up to a T. It's like a Native American assassin. He's got the tomahawks. He's got the paint on, and I'm thinking like, wow, this is like really out there. Like they're really doing this. But he's
not gonna lie. He looked like the Indian from a kid that was in that 70s commercial with the teardrop that I would post every week after Rob's Redskin review, because I'm looking at him going, man, the Redskins just won and this guy's in here and he's got the two hatchets that he's jumping off the building with. I mean, it's pretty ethnically diverse for a film. It's just not Chuck Norris as one white guy being a bunch of other white guys.
But the whole fight scene, everything like this is like I said, it's Donnie Yen kind of mixed a little bit with the Jackie Chan. And yeah, what's his name? Actually, the way the show addresses in the movie, it looks like early Jackie Chan movies where he's got the nice clothes on and everything, and then he gets basically the crap beat out of him. but he's still and their getaway vehicle for these guys stealing all these dogs. It's a Volkswagen bus. I'm thinking, really? That's not a fast getaway vehicle. You couldn't afford like a freaking U-Haul truck or something.
What did you think of just in general the fighting, all the different fight scenes versus the actual weapon scenes? Let's say the use of
fight scenes were the fight scenes and some of the action, basically were kind of predictable. I was like, I know somebody's gonna get kicked through the windshield.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, that was a pretty hot scene there too. I mean, real effects, practical.
This was after Chuck Norris had already done that, right? This is the second time we've seen it.
Yeah, when we marked out over on one of our earlier Chuck Norris streams where we talked about how he jumped. Well, he did two great stunts in that movie where he kicked the guy off the moving motorcycle, but then also he runs and jumps through the windshield of the car. So that's pretty badass.
So Show kind of does the same thing where he's hanging on top of the car, kind of like a Jackie Chan thing where they're trying to shake him off the van. And eventually they end up crashing into like a mailbox or something. I don't know what it was. It was the worst driving I've ever seen from a getaway driver. When you're going against an assailant who basically has no weapons at all except for his feet and his hands. It's not like he's shoving a sword through the roof where you have to it's like, no, he's just trying to shake him off to the point where he's hitting everything he can on accident, not on purpose, but I'm like, and this was Chief Dan, right? No, that's right. No.
Well, Good Guys Wear Black's the Chuck Norris movie, and I immediately thought of that based off of what happened here. And the one thing I would say about some of these scenes is that you don't get a lot of the exact same thing, and that's the genius of the movie to me, where you've got, like I say, you've got that great opening sequence, lots of blood, lots of guts, lots of damage. Like I say, nobody's spared. Cut up kids. It's in a beautiful little place with a pond. I mean, it feels really good watching it,
I'll just say this, it feels like they put unnecessary action scenes here. That's the heck of it. We have guys, we have more money, so we're just gonna throw this in here, like at the park scene where they're gonna lagoons. I'm like, are you kidding me? Where did they get this guy? The one guy's wearing he's got the jeans out and he's got the pink feather in his cowboy hat. I'm thinking, where is he at? The Village People? Man.
Tame by 80 standards, sir. I'm telling you see stuff like that everywhere all the time.
That is just horrible. I mean, maybe in California, maybe there are more people like that, but
just not the Midwest.
Nope.
Well, that was one of the things I thought was good about this film, and I know sometimes it may look a little hokey and cheesy by today's standards, but obviously, Kane Kosugi, his son, was in here, and I thought he looked and moved really well too. Like I said, obviously he was trained very well. The action sequences with him, yes, they're unbelievable. You're not going to have this little kid, beat up a martial arts wannabe, athletic-looking, white woman, say 30 years old, but it's done well, and it looks realistic enough where I say you don't have a lot of jump cuts, but we know it's just a display to show off Kane's skills, and I appreciate that. And also the big thing too that I want to say is it's not a martial arts film that's based 100 years ago off an island in Hong Kong or somewhere in China like you'd see on these old Chinese films or Hong Kong films. It's a present day film that tries to bring ninjutsu into the present world and actually show that. So even though we had talked about The Octagon with Chuck Norris, which is out, I think, in 81, 2 years before this, we had covered that quite some time ago. That really brought ninja to the mainstream, but tried to do it, in today's terms, at the time the movie came out. It's just that this movie really made it mainstream.
Yes, and you talk about hokey, the grandmother scene fight against Braden.
Oh, you don't like the grandmother?
That was like some Shaolin stuff, fighting style. I was like, come on, really?
Come on, Granny gets her opportunity to show
Granny can do perfect, really fast backflips, and do all this, martial arts. I'm thinking like, she's barely walking like this. This is like some anime style. Fights now. Ready, fights. Throws the walker away. Oh, I was like, what? Granny, this chick's taking ass, and like, huh. So that Granny ends up getting poked through the little wall because she throws a little smoke bomb, and she's gone. I'm like, oh, she's disappeared in thin air, and then he just goes up, he's looking around, and he goes right through the wall, the fake wall. He's like, oh yeah, that's where you are, I'm thinking, how? First of all, how would he even know that? So that's
Ninja sense.
ninja sense.
It's true.
So he stands there and you see blood come out on the floor. And she's like, oh, it's just basically dying. And the door spins and all.
Well, you even hear the screen ripping as she's falling down with the sword in her. Because the body count in this movie is off the charts. It's a minimum of 50. It's got to be close to 100.
You see Kane come in and he's like, oh my gosh, Grandma's dead. He's looking for the little skylight where Braden entered in. And Braden looks up. He's like, "Oh crap, the kid!" So he's climbing up real fast, and he's like, "I don't think so, Mister." Cuts the rope, so he falls down. See, Kane would have been so much better if they would have gave him like little one-liners. Because I mean, I felt like this was like we're taking the kid from Temple of Doom, but take away his one-liners and just make him serious.
No,
because that fight, the fight scene.
Kane Kosugi would rip the throat out of the Takaton's kid.
No, Kane versus Ashley Ferris character, the hot blonde in this movie. Come on, she's got the freaking long staff. He's like, I'll go for the shorter one. Oh, she still hit me. How does she keep hitting me? She has a longer freaking staff. It's metal. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, that was just such a cringe-worthy fight scene. He's like, well, I'm gonna go to the door. Every time he goes to the door, she hits him. Finally, he's able to do his moves, to kick her in the leg, runs away, and he runs his head into the door like a Jackie Chan movie. It's like, what is this? Oh, it was just like, come on, who choreographed the choreography for this? Was just horrible. That fight scene shouldn't have been in there at all. All she had to do was basically.
I disagree.
It was not needed. It was great for him the way he ran away on the rooftop. That made more sense. For him to go a little 6-year-old kid, this is not Damian Wayne. Sorry, this is not Batman's son.
At least when Kane is there swinging around his weapons, getting his little show off time there, no matter what you think of the choreography, you can at least watch him doing it at that age, moving so well. Today, if you go and you watch any of the Ip Man movies, as much as he's a great martial artist and all that, you get all that stuff where he'll throw 400 punches at you and the moves happen so fast, and while they're great moves, you don't get a chance to sit there and soak and take in a particular move. And it's the John Wick style of, I'm going to throw 100 things at you because the next time I do it, it's going to be 1,000. I'm going to overwhelm with the sheer volume of stuff.
Explain me how a little kid, is able to hip toss an adult who weighs almost 3 times more than him.
Leverage, judo, and jutsu.
He doesn't have the strength. He doesn't.
I don't disagree with any of that stuff because, again, this is before MMA got really big and became a thing where people say, okay, everything ends on the ground, let's fight it. This is a display of the art of ninjutsu, which is not martial arts. It's all the other stuff with it, and that's only a part of it.
It would have worked better with
all the different weapons. That's why you saw the blow darts. That's why you saw all that stuff.
I understand that, but it would have worked a lot better with someone, the kid who was a little bit older. It would have been more believable.
I won't argue that point. I simply will concede that to you, but I did not have a problem with him being here because, I liked seeing a kid that age kick a little ass. And frankly, some of the scenes, too, that I thought were kind of neat, I think you could have only done with a kid this age were to your point you mentioned earlier about the weirdo guys hanging out at the park, little weirdo child vibe there, if you know what I'm saying.
At burglaries, I kick an 8-year-old like the last.
Well, the thing is they I think that was a cool place for them to have a fight was on the in the kids with the stands and the rope fence and everything on there. That's a great place to do it. So you can't do that with a teenage kid because they don't hang out there. So to me, I like the fact that if they used a cane, a kid that age, let's say 8-10 years old or whatever, that they had it at a kid's play park. I think that was badass. I like that.
That was okay, yes, because those kids were closer to his weight level. I mean, plus there was hills, so he's able to use it to do that stuff. But I mean, I'm thinking Grandma's just sitting there while her son's basically getting his butt kicked. Our grandson. I was like, wow. It's like, come on, Grandma, step in. We saw he could do the backflips.
Fights. Come on. He kicked the kid off. Well, the one kid sends his buddy after him on the bike, and then he runs up and picks him off.
I was like, what is this, Stranger Things on the bike? Kids on a bicycle? He's like, come on, get him. Pushes the bike.
Stranger Things doesn't have it correct because they've totally neglected the entire ninja craze in the 80s. So as hokey and as cheesy as we're kind of having a fun time, fighting about it here. I can sit there and tell you that it was this movie. Everyone talked about it nonstop.
Sir, I humbly disagree. I don't think there was a ninja craze. It would have been in Stranger Things. That's why it wasn't in there, because there wasn't a ninja craze. Only for a few people who sat at home and watched the Jackie Chan's movies. Also,
wrong. I can't do it because it's Trump.
Wong. It's Wong.
One thing I wanted to bring up that I think kind of covers your point. Go ahead.
I know I'm crapping on the movie, but there are parts I liked.
Yeah.
All the Ashley Square parts. Anytime they had wanted to show off her. You
mean being hypnotized and nearly raped a couple times by different people?
Was it Mr. Fuji?
No, that was Professor Tanaka. This is not the guy in William Shatner's Impulse, which we covered, who was Odd Job. This is an ex-wrestler. But yeah, he almost rapes her, and then of course, Bad Ninja comes in and just decapitates him in front of her, hypnotizes her, which is a badass scene because it's like, okay, now he can hypnotize people. He glamours her. With the eyes, that was badass. And
I'm like, how does he?
Tries raping her too.
My thing is, how does he see through there? that's I was like. It gets hot because it gets hot in LA, man, bro. I don't know. Oh, I can't breathe in this mask. I'm trying to do these flips and stuff. Like it's no, but no. Like there are some cool scenes in here, but I'm like, there also scenes are questionable. When Joe's climbing the building, I'm like, it would have took him like 3 days just to get up to the side of that roof.
Who cares? They showed you the claw thingies. They showed you climbing up.
That's why the movie was so long. We had hours seeing him climb.
Hey, let me ask you: if you think about today's movies and action sequences, in all seriousness, with the green screens, with the mass amounts of stunt doubles, with the really bad editing, where do you think from Mission Impossible 4 Tom Cruise got his inspiration of climbing? It was this movie. Yes, it was.
No, it wasn't.
Shinobi Raccoon's asking a very important question, which I will gladly answer, just in case not being facetious, don't know the answer. What ninja wears black during the day? Good ninja and bad ninja, Shinobi, because in the last movie it was opposite. Now we have both black ninjas.
See, I told you, the white ninja wears the white day. But it
was before Labor Day. You have to wear black. All right. Now, one thing that is different about this movie that the first movie didn't have,
fake arms reaching out of the Come
that
on.
Was a great. I loved it. Where he sliced him in half.
Where was his ninja sense when the hand grabbed out of the hot tub? He's like, oh, it's a fake hand. Well, where is he?
By the fact his wife was brutally murdered, and the kid had the shuriken in the face, and he went over there, and he's rude because he doesn't realize the blonde wants to make sweet, sweet love to him and have wonderful relations and be a family. And like I've told you, the theme to this whole movie is the family that ninjas together stays together, and he only realizes that at the end. So yes, his ninja sense is dulled. Because he's been blue balled, or in our case with ninjas, black ninja balled, an entire film until the end when he kills them, then end of movie, which is what we want. So yeah, I know how these things go, sir. But the soundtrack, I've got to mention the soundtrack. The soundtrack,
I already forgot it.
Well, it has the 80s synth dreamwave type thing to it, which is different. Okay, we don't get that in a lot of martial arts films. And I think this honestly adds a little credence to your point earlier about where it seems like it drags some points, because there's a lot of time that you're watching the movie when there's no dialogue. When they're doing their ninjaing and their ninja juice here and there, and then you just get all that. And it's very noticeable to me. It's something you hear like on Airwolf or anything else about the 80s. That it does, I think, add a little darker kind of whatever 80s type feel to the movie, which doesn't make it seem like a martial arts movie. It makes it seem like it's an 80s synth movie that has martial arts and ninjas in it. If we choose to cover Ninja 3 next week or relatively soon, we'll see that there's a stark difference between these two movies and that one, especially with the sound and the actors. But the other thing to it too is when you said that this movie's a little slow in parts off screen, I said, the big difference here is, I think, with Sho Kosugi being on screen, he's got to deliver. And I think he does when he's on screen, and he's not on talking the whole time. What he does well. His son does well. The bad guy does well. Everybody does their parts, no matter how cheesy you think it is. I think the big difference is when we talked about Enter the Ninja with Franco Nero, on screen, Mr. Nero really honestly seemed like he was living the roll up and having a lot of fun. Where a show really is carrying this heavy burden across, and it's not fun in that regard. So I can see where you're saying, hey, look, it seems like it drags a little bit because it's not a fun movie. There's no lighthearted scenes in it, really.
Exactly. There is no good versus evil in this movie because the good ninja wears black and he kills people.
Yeah, I mean,
people that he
couldn't. Darker ninja film.
So like I said, he wasn't exactly pure. That's why he didn't wear the white, because he's tainted. He's evil. Sorry.
Well, you said you like some scenes in here. As we're finishing up here, I want to talk about mine, but I want to ask you first. What's your favorite scene in this movie? Or what scene do you think is really cool or badass?
Well, like I said, I like the kid being on the rooftop in the first time when Brandon sees him. Those were cool. The homeless bum getting a ninja star in the eye.
Oh, in the fountain, and then the blood gushing out.
I was like, "What is that?" Because here's $20 for your help, and then ninja star in the eye. I'm like, all I had to do is take $20 back and walk away. But no, we got Joe Pesci in there. What is that? Come on. I want this movie to be redone. It would be awesome to have Joe Pesci and be like, will somebody kill that guy? Come on.
There's two really cool scenes here to me. Go ahead.
Open the bad guy, the mobster's office for a high-rise building. When he's in there, he's like the guy is like, that's a badass bitch gun, or it's a bitching gun. 16. He's like, I take care of my family, and that obviously that guy dies, because he go check out what's going on in the hallway. Gets a freaking tomahawk axe to the head, and then he's like, what? So then that guy, that bad guy, basically starts shooting the M16 through there. He's like, what's up with this? And then he ends up getting a spike through his hand, and that's all we see of that guy. After that, he doesn't die. He just gets a spike to the hand. But behind him, he's got two grannies armed to the teeth with guns. I was like, okay. I don't know where they come from. They weren't there before, but all of a sudden they're just happen to be in there. I'm like, and it's like, it says, is that his sister? His mother? I don't know.
There's a scene, we've totally ignored the buddy cop angle. And
the buddy cop
there's
thing.
There's a great scene where he's being brought in with his buddy cop, and they're talking to the chief of police, and they're explaining some of the ninja stuff or whatever about breaking bones. It's like, well, you can't really do it, and he shows them the shuriken, and I always loved it. And I'm telling you, everybody used to quote this movie a lot. The one line that everybody would quote forever is when Sho's sitting there and he's examining the shuriken, and he's telling him, the length of the blade is precise. And he talks about how the blade goes into the eye socket just at the right angle and goes to the brain and kills him. I'm like, you can't get better than that. Simple is as simple does, and it works. But for me, the best scene is on the final fight, which I actually like this final fight a lot. The chasing, the whole rooftop stuff, I think with the kid, like you said, is great. But just the final two battle. They're battling on a volleyball court on top of a building, and it moves around to the AC unit, some other stuff. And yes, there's a jacuzzi or hot tub.
I gotta admit, by this point, I was getting so bored. I'm like, I wonder, who is a jacuzzi on a hot tub in LA? It rains all the freaking time there sometimes. So
no.
I was like, who's
people with money and babes do it, and cocaine, because this is the 80s. So
and, ninjas like the hide in there, the hot.
Yeah, because he swerved him. He had the fake hand and all that. But the scene is one.
But my thing is like ninja sense. You say it about the ninja sense. That scene just proved to me it was lazy writing. Like suddenly, arm grabs. He cuts it up. It's a robot arm. Okay, so I don't know where he is. Here comes the bad guy out of the hot tub. Really? I saw that coming. That's how bad it was.
In 1983, you didn't.
In 1983, you did see it.
No, you did not. But the scene is where good ninja kills bad ninja at the end and pokes him, and just look. This movie probably has the record. Body count's very high. We know this, okay?
Well,
but it has the record, I think, for people that have stuff stuck in them where they turn around and you see them on screen, whether it's the arrows catch them with the teeth or the shurikens in the face and in the eyes. Sure. But where he gushes out that blood, that thing shoots a good 15 feet. I swear to God, it is literally the farthest gore shot I've seen in any film ever.
My thing is, how the heck did Show spit out his mouth all those little tacks into the guy's face?
Because he's a ninja.
There's like 20 of them.
He's a ninja, bro. That's the dark art, man.
The dark art. Putting blades in my mouth.
I'm just saying, maybe we'll get an origin story one day, and I think it would be great. It would be another canon classic instantly.
Like I said, if you want to see like ninja kills, this is the movie for ninja kills. Plotline's kind of but the kills are good. But yeah, it is hokey in some parts. I still prefer the first one over the second one.
I like them both. This one's a little bit more. I enjoy this one a little bit better because I feel like it's a little bit darker, and I prefer that.
Well, yeah, this one left out the guy with the handicap, the claw.
Well, here's the thing.
Ninja!
This movie is an absolute 80s gem. It's anything you can think of in 80s movies in here. Everything you think about with ninjas is in here. It's just a wonderful 80s action movie to see. And like I say, it is the greatest ninja movie of all time. I think, unfortunately, a lot of the more recent ninja movies that I've seen, and we've talked about covering a bunch of them too in our ninja craze, but it just focuses too much on the martial arts and trying to be cute and the fast, quick cutting stuff. And that's where this movie, honestly, and a lot of movies like the Chuck Norris ones that we've talked about, they have a certain template to it. They don't repeat the same fight. You kind of get to see a little bit of the show off of the styles. You get to see some different weapons, let's say, being introduced. I honestly feel like when you're watching a movie like this, or the Chuck Norris ones, or some others we've talked about, Bruce Lee as well, we talk about the different people and styles. There's a respect for what they're trying to show the audience on screen, as opposed to saying, hey, let's make a cheesy 80s action film with ninjas and just slap a bunch of shit on there. I don't get that vibe at all. And I understand there's a cheese factor where I was playing straight man to your cheese ball approach. I get it and I see it. That being said, it's extremely entertaining. I can see where people might like the first one more than this one. This one is the American version of the first one to me because it's in America. It's bringing ninja, into downtown, quote unquote, LA, when it's really, I think, Salt Lake City. And it feels like an 80s film. The first one feels like an international ninja movie, and there's nothing wrong with it. I really like them both a lot too. But yeah, when you saw Canon pop up on screen, you knew you were going to get some entertaining B-level type movie. Super low budget. They put their money into this guy show being a star, and to me, it was a wild success. And I'm telling you, this movie is a lot more entertaining than a lot of crap that's out there today, in my opinion. Let me hand it over to you for any final thoughts about this movie.
I was gonna say my final thoughts is like somehow the bad guy from the first movie is survived and is now the good guy in this movie, but still bad.
I think they're supposed to be unrelated, actually, but whatever. Who cares? Because the third one's not related to anything at all. I don't.
You know what it is? It's his twin. It's
Well.
80s for you. No, but final thoughts. Like I said, Ashley Ferrer, hot in this movie. If you like hot, scantily blondes, scantily clad blondes, there you go. You got this. She's doing martial arts with no pants on, just a little kimono top. I mean, they really show off the scene of the hot tub where she's basically being drowned in the hot tub. She gets out. She's in the panties. She's in
got the white
the
beater
white
on.
with the white beater on. Get some nips showing.
The white lingerie.
Oh yeah, you see some. Yeah, we see a topless scene here. I mean, they really went out there. Like she's like, "Can I go full frontal?" They're like, "No. We only need a top." But
I thought she did a good job with her. Like she looked physical. Like she was believable. She's not a small girl.
That's the thing. I thought that maybe I looked her up. I thought maybe she's in other movies, maybe more martial arts movies, because I know there was some female martial artists.
Yep.
And into movies. So we'll have to dip into those. But yeah, this is basically, if you like ninjas, you love gore, you love every single little, even the mini sword, it's in the katana itself. This has everything. Even has couples having sex and then dying, and then in the hot tub. They're like, I love the corner is like, the guy, he's like, yeah, they died together, so it's going to take a crowbar to pry them apart, like Jaws of Life. But what's cool, though, many people won't notice, the Ecto 1 was in this movie.
It was.
It was. It's for a brief second, you see the ambulance.
Oh, okay. I get it. Real Dr. Bankman. I get your joke.
It was. That's what they used for the coroner's office, or used those back in the day. So apparently, so It's right after the couple that are having sex in the hot tub get killed with the blow darts. Next scene, they show them like they're wheeling them out,
Yeah.
and like you see like it's right there. It's like a brief second. I'm like, hey, it's a Cadillac. Yeah. So, but
Like I said, best ninja movie of all time.
I know that's Invasion USA, bro.
That's not a ninja movie.
Okay, I'll go with American Ninja since it's American.
Not as good as this one.
Oh, I beg to differ.
I saw a fight coming on. Midwest Ninja versus Florida Ninja. All right, well, Doctor, thanks for showing up. Got a lot of positive responses on Canon Films, but particularly the Ninja. We love talking action films.
Just like ninjas when you're outside, wear your mask.
And get that sweet metallic version like the bad guy had in here, not the classic one.
Can you imagine walking around in the middle of like Florida? Sir, you need to take that mask off. You got COVID, stay away. Look at the clean eyes. Go up to the cop, count down from 1, 2.
You cannot glamour me, sir. All right, thanks for showing up, guys. Thanks for listening. Ed, good to see you again as usual. Shinobi, glad you're there too. Man, appreciate you guys spread the word around about this stuff too as we are growing. I just want a special shout out to E from I Love Comics, Old Man Comics, whatever his political channel is that he vents on, the Homegrown Tourist. He's obviously co-host of this show, being a founder with it. Top 10 Tuesday, which we normally do, is on hiatus for this week because it's Old Man's 50th birthday. I'd like to give him a special shout out and say happy 50th birthday. I've known the man for almost 40 years, literally. And boy, I tell you, we have our fights, our ups and downs, but man, all through it all, we can go, yeah, it was a badass ninja film, or no, that movie sucked. And that's really, really great. So we love talking these kinds of films too. I'm looking forward to having them back next week on Top 10 Tuesdays. So for Ian Spirit, for RDV, and myself, everybody, I'd like to say stay extreme. Good night.
And as always,